take out those Arrancar. I bet you couldn't even take out one of them, a sneering voice proclaimed. Renji Abarai, the old man declared to himself. The only one who would reply to Ichigo like that. Renji. Do not use such a provocative tone. It is unbecoming of you. The infamous statue, Kuchiki Byakuya. Yes, Kuchiki Taishu. Yes, oh, yes. More, experiments. Ugh. That captain. Kuratsuchi Mayuri. The old man didn't even want to know what actions accompanied those words, though he did suspect it would be something along the lines of drooling, and crazy eye movements. That last statement made everyone go silent. Boomf. I don't care. The genius, and shortest captain, Hitsugaya Tushiru, had finally broken the awkward silence. I want to go as well. This could, well, clear some things up for me, a young female voice piped up. The old man's eyebrows rose a little. Hinamori. Actually, on second thoughts, I definitely want to come. The old man smirked inwardly. It was funny how the 5th Division vice-captain had such a strong influence on the Shinigami nicknamed Genius. After hearing, and laughing silently to himself, a few more random comments made by the Shinigami Yamamoto decided to stop the rowdy lot. It was just as well he did, because Zaraki had almost chopped off Byakuya's head, for telling him that the Arrancars wouldn't fall prey to someone who didn't even know the name of his own sword. After calming the captains and vice-captains down, with the help of a blast of his sword, the old man said, the power of the Arrancars would probably equal that of a vice-captain. Disappointment ran through the crowd. Zaraki looked like he was about to sink into the ground. Because of this power, I am going to send 2 vice-captains to eradicate the Arrancar. The vice-captains looked at each other. I am also going to send a supervising captain. This time the captains looked at one another. They got what the old man was telling them to do. You probably have figured out by now, but I have wanted to test our vice-captains to see if they are capable of making a captain. This scenario is the perfect test. The captains looked at one another, again. This meant the boring job of sitting and watching vice-captains fight. Since the gap between vice-captain and captain was usually huge, the captains were all reluctant to take the boring job. Before the old man could choose, Renji spoke up. I'm going to go, Yamamoto Taishu. With that the vice-captain turned his heel and walked out of the meeting room. Yamamoto looked at the young man's retreating back, but he didn't fail to notice the quick, sad glance that Kuchiki Rukia gave Renji. Something must have happened between those two. Well, that's one. Yamamoto looked around. The next vice-captain please. As soon as he said this, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the most interesting turn of events unfold. Hinamori started to raise her hand, but Hitsugaya Toshiro, with his lightning-quick reflexes, accidentally tripped and fell onto her, which stopped her hand from raising up. Instead she tried to catch him. Meanwhile Hitsugaya wasn't even looking at Hinamori, he was concentrating on the vice-captain closest to him, other than Hinamori. Hitsugaya was pointedly glaring at him, and giving him sharp kicks in the leg. The poor vice-captain melted underneath Hitsugaya's cold stare and resignedly put his hand up. When Hinamori had straightened up, Hitsugaya apologized to her, and quickly nudged the other vice-captain. I. The vice-captain looked down at the glaring captain. I want to go. The vice-captain that had been manipulated for Hitsugaya's own personal gains, i.e. keep Hinamori safe, was none other than Hisagi. When Hisagi had noticed the white-haired prodigy's lame excuse for a trip, he wondered what on earth was Hitsugaya thinking. Oh no. Why did he have to be the closest vice-captain at the time? The prodigy's glare was enough. It said, go volunteer before Hinamori. Or else I'll kill you, DMN that brat, cornering him into going. Most of the other Shinigami in the meeting chuckled silently to themselves. The old man sighed. At least it was an attempt to be subtle. But, on the other hand, the person that had fallen under Hitsugaya's death glare was none other than Hisagi Fukuteko, one of the vice-captains he actually wanted to test. So, the old man didn't say anything, merely let out an amused smile. Okay, that vice-captain bid is settled. Now. The old man looked meaningfully around the room. All the other captains seemed to shrink back. No captain wanted the boring job of watching a vice-captain level battle. Hitsugaya Taishu will be the supervising captain. Any questions? He expected the short captain to disagree immediately with him, but to his surprise the white-haired genius didn't say anything. He almost looked sad, the old man thought. Like he was ashamed of something. Well, now wasn't the time to be thinking of such trivial matters. Hitsugaya could sort it out himself. Wait. The Shinigamis whirled around to see Kurosaki Ichigo standing there, anger written over his face. I want to go. The old man's eyes did not burn with fire. Instead, it took on a form of understanding. No. His voice was soft, but firm. The Arankars are only vice-captain level. You are not needed. Instead, you should stay here and learn your duties as a captain. The orange-haired captain clenched his fists. He opened his mouth to say something, but the old man cut him off. Remember who is your boss, Kurosaki Ichigo. A few moments of silence passed. Finally Ichigo started to calm down, but, the old man noted with light amusement, it was only because a certain petite Shinigami had placed her hand on his clenching fist. Thank goodness he had decided to bring Rukia along to the meeting. Things could have gotten nasty. Okay. The meeting is over. You are all dismissed. As the captains and vice-captains turned to go, the old man said softly, don't get too comfortable. They have definitely started making their move. The only Shinigamis that were left was Hitsugaya, Hisagi, and Renji, who just leaned against the outside wall of the meeting hall. As of now, this mission will be referred to as Operation TA, the old man focused on Hisagi. I'm expecting something from you, Vice Captain. Let's go, Renji's voice called from outside. The sun had begun to set. It's getting late. The three Shinigami leaving caused quite a crowd, which was quite unbelievable. Why would such a parting cause such a large leaving party? Hitsugaya looked around. The leaving party consisted mostly of young women. The short captain raised an eyebrow at his two companions. Renji looked totally out of it, while his other companion, Hisagi, looked like a tomato. Oi! What the hell is this all about? Hitsugaya didn't like crowds. Especially ones that consisted of sobbing girls. Hisagi looked down at the captain. Every time I go somewhere on a mission, these people seem to follow me when I leave. And they seem to know every time I leave. So, they're your fan club? No, just. You're lame. No, Hitsugaya Taishu. Go on, go get kissed and hugged by one of those bawling girls over there, Hitsugaya gestured to the crowd. I won't look. Promise. The short captain added with a sneer. Hisagi was about to answer, but he saw the smaller captain become engulfed in flurry of black. Shiro-chan. The flurry of black was none other than Hinamori. The bawling fanclub became silent. Now this was going to be interesting. You didn't tell me you were leaving so soon. Hinamori was oblivious to the ogling group of girls behind her. Hitsugaya wished he was oblivious as well. What? Why should I tell you if I was leaving? And don't call me Shiro-chan. The group of girls behind Hinamori had started to whisper amongst themselves. No doubt to spread the latest gossip about. His train of thought just derailed as he felt Hinamori hugging him. You should tell me if you're going to leave because we're best friends, Shiro-chan. This immediately sent the group of girls behind her into a bunch of squealing fits. This was such a romantic scene. Hinamori and Hitsugaya were so cute together. What was with these girls? They couldn't get any more mental than this, Hitsugaya thought with a red face, still in Hinamori's embrace. Actually he was wrong. He felt Hinamori break their embrace, but she stopped halfway. He temporarily wondered what she was doing, then felt something soft press against his cheek. Before he realized it, Hinamori had taken herself out of the embrace, she had kissed him on the cheek, and, the frickin' group of girls behind her had seen the whole frickin' thing. A few girls had swooned, and another few were jumping around, others were screaming their heads off, etc. Hitsugaya felt someone staring at him. Hard. He turned and saw Hisagi smirking. Suddenly the temperature dropped. Say one thing. And I will kill you. Hisagi decided that his life was nice, but inwardly he was screaming with laughter. Ha 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 ha. The tough little captain of the 10th Division had just told him to go kiss and hug with a girl, and then Hinamori walked up and did that exact same thing to Hitsugaya. Oh, the laughter he kept stored inside would kill him, unless the angry captain didn't kill him first. Hitsugaya eyed the other vice-captain to check if he was laughing, but it looked like Renji was in another world of his own. Suddenly, the vice-captain's eyes opened, and walking through the crowd, was Rukia, accompanied by Ichigo. Hitsugaya frowned. Having Renji like this just before a mission could endanger things. He watched as Rukia and Ichigo made their way in front of Renji. Ichigo walked straight up to Renji and grabbed his GI. If you let any of my family die, or any of my friends die, don't even think about coming back. I'll kill you. Hitsugaya noted with some satisfaction that the excitement of the female fans had died down with the obvious tension that was in the air. Renji grinned and grabbed Ichigo's GI. Don't worry. I'm not as weak as you. Ichigo grinned back at him, then they pushed each other off. However, Rukia didn't say anything, Ichigo noted. Usually she would be between them, screaming that they break up whatever fight they were going to get into. Also, Renji's voice was unusually weak, it was lacking a fighting spirit. What was wrong with these two? Did something happen? Rukia finally looked up. Goodbye Renji. Yeah. Goodbye. Renji didn't look at her, but looked to the side. Ichigo looked at both of them. Something was definitely wrong. He was about to ask Rukia what was wrong, but Yamamoto appeared. Let us commence Operation TA. Yes sir. A summer job, responsibilities. Kuchiki Rukia looked up at her friend. Needless to say, he was seething angrily. But, knowing her orange-haired companion, he was bottling it all up inside. He had done that before, she thought. Like the time when Nii-sama and Renji had come to retrieve her from the real world. He fought like anything, and when he lost, he had mostly kept quiet, keeping all those feelings inside of him. She was worried. What would happen to Ichigo if something did happen to his family? You need a break. Huh? Ichigo looked down at his Shinigami friend. Her hair was so soft and glossy that the light from the sunset shone from her head. I said, you need a break, Rukia stated plainly. What? Why would I need a break? Look at you. You're having a big cry just because you didn't go. Ichigo looked down at her in surprise. How did she know he was feeling a bit sore because he didn't get caught? He thought he was masking it pretty well. Rukia sighed. If he thought that he was masking the fact that he really wanted to go to the real world to fight the Arrancars, he was seriously wrong. Okay, maybe to a normal person he would just seem like he was like that normally, but Rukia was far from normal. She had lived most of her life next to the Kuchiki Byakuya aka brick wall. She was good at reading people's emotions, as you would when the person you lived with conveyed his emotions once every 100 years. When Ichigo didn't say anything, she sighed inwardly. Come on, how about you come with me to have tea with Nii-sama? That'll surely calm you. She didn't finish her sentence, or rather couldn't. She was interrupted by a spluttering, red-faced Ichigo. What? How the hell would that calm me down? Are you crazy? Ichigo had perfected the art of stuttering while shouting. I'm joking, she answered him with a blank face. Jeez. Boomf. Ichigo turned his head away from her. DMN woman. First, she tells him that he needs a break. Why the hell would he need a break when it was only his second day on the job? And now, she tells him that a good break would be to hang out with Byakuya, that frickin' emotionless brother of hers. Who, he had a bad feeling, didn't like him very much, nothing to do with Ichigo beating him in battle though. Rukia looked at Ichigo in disbelief. Okay, he definitely needed a break. Soul Society and its duties must have been too stressful for him. She stifled a giggle as she saw Ichigo's face. Orihime was right. He really did have a funny face. Okay, seriously, do you want to go to one of the lakes in Soul Society? Ichigo blinked. A lake? Rukia smiled, her most innocent smile. Yep. No. With that Ichigo started walking again. Aw, come on Ichigo, it's really cool. Ichigo looked at her again. Rukia. It's a lake. I know. It's great, isn't it? Something clicked. Rukia, how many lakes does Soul Society have? Only, but there's one near the Court of Pure Souls. And I really want to go. She was pleading him now. She actually did want to visit the lake sometime, but since it was so far away, she could hardly get the time off to do it. However, she could bring Ichigo, since whenever she was with Ichigo she felt like she could just break all the rules. So, you're telling me that in the whole of Soul Society there is only 3 lakes? Yep. Ichigo's sweat dropped. Have you ever seen one before? Nope. Ichigo sighed. So what you're saying is, you want me to come with you? Yep. Jeez. This girl could be so annoying. But for some reason, Ichigo didn't refuse. Okay, I'll come. Yay. Ichigo gave her a blank look. If you speak like that again, I won't come. Fine, Rukia glared at him, but inside she was secretly happy that Ichigo had decided to go with her. What about Mr. Big Guy? Who? You know, that old guy with a beard, and he's a captain. Oh. We won't tell him, she replied with a mischievous grin. Ichigo looked away. And what about your brother? We won't tell him either. Ichigo's sweat dropped. This girl was crazy. And he was crazier for going along with her stupid plan. In his whirlwind of thoughts he forgot to ask her how long it took to get to the stupid lake. So, when do we leave? Now. What? It's like, nearly dark. Ichigo looked at Rukia carefully. She was feeling all right, wasn't she? So, she looked back at him, her eyes sparkling. Ichigo just let out an invisible air bubble. Byakuya sat at his desk, mentally recounting the events that had just occurred. What were those 2 Arrancar for? Ugh. He couldn't think properly in the confines of his room. With that stray thought, he put on his captain coat and walked outside for a stroll. He came across the garden area of his estate when he heard voices that seemed strangely familiar. Kurosaki Ichigo, with Rukia. We have to walk. Ichigo asked her in disbelief. Don't you guys have any other form of transport here? Get over it, you lazy bum. Not lazy. Just that it would frickin' help if we had a frickin' car. A car? Ichigo, you're underage anyway. Shut up. Those rules don't apply here. Byakuya frowned. Arguing as usual. But somehow, those two, they seemed to care greatly for one another. It was the weirdest relationship ever. They bickered, and bickered, but somehow there was a twinge of affection, that people never failed to notice. Hence the reason why they were the second most popular item in the Court of Pure Souls. Byakuya made a mental note to talk to Kurosaki Ichigo sometime about Ichigo's, relationship with his sister. He also wanted to talk about Ichigo's use of profanities. He didn't want his sister going around with a guy like that. Maybe now would be a good time. As he was about to reveal himself to the pair, a presence behind him made him turn around, and grip his sword. It couldn't be. SGH, we're in Nai-sama's grounds. Bah, Ichigo looked away. Just 'cause you couldn't think of a good comeback. He received a good punch in the jaw after that. Even so, he kept quiet until they were out of the estate. Kuchiki Taishu. Why on earth would someone like him be here? Yamamoto Taishu, Byakuya replied without breaking pace. We need to talk. Of course. Please come inside. When they were inside, and seated, Byakuya asked, what is it that you want to speak to me about? Several things. The old man looked at him. But mainly about the upcoming captaincy contest. Excuse me for asking, but why are you asking me? I wanted to take a look at the garden. If Byakuya was a normal person he would have fallen off his seat. If they were sitting on seats, that is. However, he was not a normal person and his expression did not change. I see. Actually, I'm talking to you because you are the captain of the person that is surely the favorite of the competition. Abarai Renji. After lingering in a few moments of silence, Byakuya said, I am aware of that. The first division captain looked at Byakuya carefully. What I want to ask you is this, do you think he is ready? The words hung in the air. Lucky that Renji wasn't about that particular moment because he would have died from what his captain had said. Yes, he is more than ready, Byakuya paused. He has achieved his Bankai, and fights to a level that is above most other vice-captains. I would, however, question his manners and attitude more than anything, but that is all. The old man smiled. That was probably the closest to praising someone that Byakuya could get. I see. The old man closed his eyes. There is one other person that is trying out, that I believe may catch your interest. Hisagi. The old man nodded. He is strong enough. Is that all? The old man asked. Surely, there must be something more. That is all. However, I think you should be more concerned about her. Hinamori Momo. Yes. She has enough power to become captain. And there are certain rumors that she is training to achieve her Bankai. If Hinamori actually did try out, and she got hurt, it might bring winter to Soul Society. I'm hoping that she doesn't, since Hitsugaya Taishu seems extremely protective of her. Byakuya looked up. There was something in the old man's voice when he said the words, extremely protective. Like another captain I know. Yamamoto Taishu. You know what I'm talking about, Kuchiki Byakuya. Kuchiki Rukia. I know you arranged for her to not become a seated member of her division. However, her skills and power are greatly needed. The old man paused, noting the glint in Byakuya's eyes. I'm not forcing anything. I'm just saying that it's about time you gave her the position she deserves. The old man straightened. Thank you for your time. With that, Yamamoto walked to the open door, but before he left he whispered softly, but Byakuya heard it. His fists clenched as the old man left, but he knew that he was right. What if she tries out for captaincy? Then what would you do? DMN that old man. DMN him for being right. Flashback. Are you sure you want this, Byakuya? Yes. Okay. I know it's none of my business, but may I just ask, why? Aside from the fact that a seated position is a lot more dangerous. Surely there is something more. Kuchiki Byakuya turned from the other captain. Because, Yukitake Taishu, I don't want her to feel that big responsibility that comes with a seated position. End flashback. The other captains knew of it, but none spoke of it openly. They knew that Kuchiki Rukia was strong enough to gain a seated position. They also knew that somehow Byakuya had stopped her from gaining any position. His thoughts turned to the orange-haired Shinigami named Kurosaki Ichigo. However, with him in the picture maybe it was time she learned a little responsibility. Flashback. Why are you late? I was with Kurosaki Taishu, Nii-sama. Is that so? Why do you spend so much time with him, Rukia? Ni-sama, he is, my friend. Are you sure? What? Rukia stopped speaking for a moment. Oh, of course I'm sure he's my friend. Rukia. Think carefully. Is he more than just a friend? Ni-sama, she replied softly, it's just a close friendship. She turned to go upstairs. Rukia, that is not the truth. He watched her stop at the first step of the staircase. Rukia. Do not let me hold you back from your true feelings. He watched her ascend slowly up the stairs, and then he slowly got up and opened a cabinet near him. Am I doing the right thing? He lingered a moment before closing the cabinet. His Anna. End flashback. Byakuya sat there, the minutes ticking away with his mind. If Rukia achieved some sort of position, she would feel the responsibility weighing down on her shoulders. But, maybe that would be good for her, Byakuya decided. With the weight of responsibility she would definitely figure out whether her feelings for the temporary 5th Division captain was real or not. Because, if her feelings were real, the responsibility and problems that came with a position in the Godiai 13 would be nothing compared to the responsibility and problems that just being together with him brought. But it would prepare her, even if only a little bit. She was, after all, a Shinigami, and he, a human. A summer job, business trip, Part 1. Night had fallen on Seoul society. Ichigo looked down at his friend. She was walking, as if oblivious to anything in the world. Except, he knew she wasn't. No matter how she tried to hide it, he knew something was up. Rukia. Rukia answered, without looking up. Seriously, she was so short, and Ichigo was too tall, it wasn't worth craning her neck. You know, before. When you said that I was having a cry because I couldn't go. This time she looked up. Yeah. Well, it's not like I just wanted to go fight, just so you know, he finished hurriedly. That was all he wanted to tell her. Geez, did this guy think she was dumb? It was so obvious why he wanted to go. She knew he wasn't bloodthirsty or anything, so what was he trying to get at? Ichigo looked away, before starting again, I was just worried, about Yuzu and Karen. Rukia smiled to herself. Even before, Ichigo had been so protective of his little sisters, even though he never said anything. He usually expressed his protectiveness in actions. Now, that he couldn't really express his feelings in actions, since he couldn't go, all that was left was expressing his feelings in verbal form, something that they both knew he wasn't good at. You know. Ichigo turned back to look at her. I wanted to go as well. Huh? Ichigo looked at her, dumbfounded. Why on earth would she want to go? Something clicked. Renji. Rukia looked up at her orange-haired friend, and saw a look of jealousy sweep across his face. He then turned away. Jealousy? Where did that come from? Idiot. I wanted to go help your family as well. She looked back up at him for understanding. Sure enough, that look she saw a moment ago was replaced by understanding, and a bit of relief. What had he been jealous about? Oh. Ichigo, for once, was at loss for words. That reminds me. I haven't thanked you properly for saving my family that night. Idiot. You have. I did? Ichigo asked, bewildered. When did I? You saved my life. How much more proper can you get? Ichigo grunted. You know what I mean. But he didn't pursue the matter. Rukia really was great. She honestly had wanted to help his family. Suddenly his aspect of her changed. Sure, she was a good friend, even if he wouldn't admit it to himself, but anyone wanting to save his family deserved a high amount of respect. If Rukia wanted to help then. His thoughts trailed off into the silence. They had been walking for about 20 minutes, but Ichigo felt like it was hours. They hadn't spoken since, but the silence they basked in was comfortable, not awkward. Rukia. Yeah? She asked, not looking up. How long till this stupid lake anyway? She kept her head down and mumbled something barely audible. Oh, haha, very funny, Ichigo replied sarcastically. 2 days. Yep, you're funny. Rukia didn't say anything. Ichigo slowly backed away from her and deadpanned. Please tell me that was a joke. Rukia kept her head down. Ichigo just inhaled and exhaled. 2 frickin' days. Ichigo finally let it out. Are you telling me it takes 2 days to get to this stupid lake? Well, you didn't ask before, did you? She retorted. And you said you'd come. Yeah, I know I said I would come, I thought you said it was close. It is close. And stop shouting. I'm right in front of you. Ichigo deadpanned for the second time. I'm in front of you as well. She looked away. Ichigo let out a rather large breath of air. I'm going back. What? She turned to look at him, this time. I said, I'm going back. He met her gaze, squarely in the eye. Why? Because. It takes 2 days. That's why. Ichigo managed to grit through his teeth. Seriously, what were they supposed to do for food, water, and sleep? Just sleep outside? Oh come on, Ichigo. Please. No. He looked away from her, there is no way, that I am going to. 1, we don't even have food. 2, we don't even have water. 3, we don't have a place to stay the night. And 4, it takes 2 days. Did you even think about this before we left? Ichigo was waving his hands around in the air, looking exasperated. Rukia stifled a giggle. It wouldn't do to laugh while he was obviously in the middle of something important. Well, I can get water, and food, off someone I know. Also, I know a place to sleep. She looked him in the eye. Happy now? What about the 2 days bit? Men. When it got down to it, they were all the same. Oh, yes Ichigo, I'll just move the whole frickin' lake a bit closer. Why don't you do that then? Fine. Her voice suddenly returned to normal. You can go back. Good. I will, and he turned around. I just wanted to go, because I needed a break, and I thought it would be good if you came. Ichigo froze. There was real sadness in her tone. Even if he was Ichigo, he could still tell that something was wrong. Something between her and Renji maybe. He remembered that the 2 childhood friends had been rather silent when they said goodbye. He decided. Fine. Actually, I feel like I need a break, he lied. Seriously, why did he always end up following this girl? He turned around in the direction they had been going, and because he kept his face looking the other way he missed the small smile that glanced across her features. They settled back into silence. It was some time before Ichigo broke it. So, you going to tell me where we're supposed to get food and all that? Rukia stayed silent for a while. For a minute, Ichigo thought that she had just made that stuff up on the spur of the moment. Like that other time when she tried to cook dinner, when Isshin, Yuzu, and Karen were away. He had asked her if she had used all the correct ingredients and she quickly assured him that she had used all the correct things. Ichigo had been sick for a week after that. Before he got a chance to accuse her of lying she spoke. Well, I have a friend that lives around here, well, hopefully she's still here. She likes to move around a lot, but last time I checked she was around here somewhere. Pfft. After walking another 10 minutes, Rukia's face lighted up. Yes. She is here. Ichigo looked in front of him, and grimaced. No way. It was her. Kokaku Shiba slammed down the jug of sake in front of her, causing the wooden floor to shake visibly. Oi. Bring more. Her younger brother cringed. Elder sisters were scary. She glared at him. Did you just think something bad about your older sister? Definitely. Definitely scary. No, not at all. He watched horrified, as she took out one of her throwing knives. Get my sake, she growled. Why yes. The younger brother ran to the door, and promptly ran into the orange-haired Shinigami that we know so well. The hell, he said, rubbing his head. That's my line. Look where you're running. Ichigo, he looked up and grinned. You a-hole. You looking for a fight, Big Nose? You looking to lose again, Carrot Top? Pfft. Ichigo looked away. Then nearly died of fright when he saw the fast-approaching dagger make its way above Ganju's head. He jumped back, flattened himself against the wall, and the knife struck just above him. Ichigo looked above him and saw the handle of the knife quivering. As soon as he got over his initial shock, he jumped from the wall. What the hell are you doing, woman? Are you trying to kill me? You're stopping Ganju from getting my sake. Move it, she sounded almost bored. You could have just asked politely, he said underneath his breath, looking annoyed, as you do when someone throws a knife at you. But he made way for Ganju, and leaned against the doorframe. And nearly died for the second time when two sharp knives appeared extremely close to his neck. What the hell was that for? I let your stupid brother go. The first one was for leaning on the doorframe. The second was for mumbling, she said in the same bored tone. Ichigo slowly knelt down, and then collapsed on the floor. Being used as a knife target just wasn't working with him. Oh, hello Kuchiki-san, her tone suddenly changed to a happy, cheery tone as she saw Rukia standing at the doorway, looking bored, as if this sort of thing was expected. Hello Shiba-san. Rukia replied in the same happy, cheery voice as Kakaku acknowledged her. Meanwhile, the mass of black on the floor, formerly known as Ichigo, sweat dropped. About 5 minutes later, when Ichigo had recovered, and Ganju had brought back the requested sake, there was some form of order in the room. Well, if you didn't count the knives sticking out of the walls, and Ichigo and Ganju, who were participating in a glare-to-the-death contest. So, what brings you two here? Kakaku asked, obviously directing her question to Rukia, as the two men still hadn't finished their glare-to-the-death contest. Oh, nothing much, just going to visit Akinaru. This statement made Ichigo pop out of the glare-to-the-death contest, so by default Ganju won. Hey! I thought we were going to that stupid lake. Ichigo asked, ignoring Ganju, who was currently glaring daggers at him for forfeiting. The two females sweat dropped simultaneously. Ganju was too busy glaring at Ichigo to notice Ichigo's stupid mistake. What? Ichigo asked, genuinely puzzled. Rukia sighed, and rubbed her temples. Kakaku noticed this, and said, Look, why don't you two boys play outside? But Ichigo zipped his mouth shut when he saw the Shiba clan's member pull out a throwing knife from behind her. Both him and Ganju were outside the room in 0.0003 seconds. They both leaned on each side of the doorway, breathing heavily. They looked at each other, and the same thought passed through each of their minds. Let's get out of here. Which was fortunate, because the moment they leaped off the wall, knives appeared where they just had been leaning. They had forgotten that she didn't like people to lean on her walls. The two men stood outside, not saying anything, which was a change. I don't understand women, Ichigo mumbled under his breath. Ganju turned at the sound of his voice. Ha! So you are a man after all. Ichigo shot him a glare. Shut up. After a few moments of silence, he spoke up again. Well, see, first Rukia tells me that we're going to a lake. Now she wants to go to some place called. He scratched his head, trying to remember what she had said. Akinaru. Huh. How did you know? Idiot. Akinaru's the name of the lake. The hell. See, I told you I don't understand women. No, you're just geographically stupid. And you have a big nose. Hey! You leave my nose out of this. We can't. It's too big. Akanaru, hey. Rukia looked at Kakaku. Yeah, I guess I just needed a break. Pfft. You don't fool me, woman, Kakaku retorted. Huh? What do you mean? Rukia tried her best to look puzzled. Rukia's puzzled look didn't work, well, at least not on Kakaku. She was, after all, a woman as well. Then why did you bring him along? Oh. Rukia looked down at the floor. What, you like him or something? She took another gulp of her sake. At this moment, Rukia found the floor tiles extremely interesting. No, it's just that. The other woman waved her hand. Don't worry. I don't care. Now tell me what you need. Rukia, thankful for the change in subject, quickly raised her head. A bit of food, water, and a change of clothes, since if we stay at any inns. She trailed off. Yeah, people around here don't exactly love Shinigami. You left some stuff here from your last visit. But, she added as she eyed the folded clothes skeptically, you sure you want to wear this? Rukia giggled. Yeah, it's okay. Even if it looks weird, it's what the humans wear. Humans, hey? The other woman asked slyly, since when were you interested in what they wore? Wow. The floor really did look interesting. The older woman chuckled. I'm just kidding. Here you go. Rukia accepted the folded clothes, grateful that now she would have something else to stare at, other than the floor. Now for the other guy, the older woman said as she browsed through some boxes. This should be okay, she proclaimed, holding up an old, but well-kept, GI and Hakama. Rukia looked up, and then let out a small gasp. But that's... Oi! You two delinquents up there. Get your butts inside. Ganju and Ichigo suddenly stopped fighting when they heard the dreaded voice. Coming, they both shouted in unison. They walked down the steps to the big room where Kakaku and Rukia were waiting. Ichigo walked in and noticed Rukia wearing birth clothes. She wore light baggy jeans, which hung quite low, showing the curve of her hips. A white top, covered by a yellow long-sleeve blouse, covered her upper body. Knowing Rukia, she had buttoned all the buttons, so the blouse was rather tight, showing off the womanly curves that Ichigo had never seen, due to mostly seeing her wearing Yuzu's dresses, or his school uniform. Ichigo couldn't believe his eyes. She looked, rather nice, actually. Scrap that last thought. Now. He had to mentally scold himself to stop his jaw from dropping. Kakaku Shiba noticed Ichigo's reaction, and grinned to herself. If all the clothes from the world caused men to react like this, then no wonder Rukia had taken a liking to earth clothes. On the other hand, it may just be Ichigo, since there was something between those two, she told herself. Rukia, being completely oblivious to the state of Ichigo, as she usually was, walked towards him to hand him the Hakama and GI. Ichigo didn't notice Rukia, he was trying his hardest not to look at her, until she was right in front of him. Here. Put on these. What? Ichigo jumped back a meter, aware of their proximity. Why? Just put it on. I'll explain later. With that she threw him the Hakama and GI, and turned him around. Ichigo barely caught it. Her being too close was bad for his brain. Wait, he cried as he was being pushed out of the room. Rukia sighed as Ichigo resisted her. Look, at these places, people don't particularly like Shinigami. Got it? Ichigo got it, but how come he had to wear this olden-style clothing, while she got modern-day clothing? What? So you're going to go out dressed like that? Whoops. Bad move. And he didn't really mean to make it come out like that. She was just too close to him, and he had never seen her dressed, so normally, he was afraid he'd do something. Her eyes reflected hurt, but it was soon replaced by anger. Go change, she muttered, and turned around. Ichigo was about to say something, but noticed Ganju mouthing to him, "Idiot," while the older woman casually looked up to the ceiling and let her forefinger slide across her neck. This SCKED. He was seriously going to get it. Or worse, he wouldn't get it at all, Rukia would just shut herself up. Which was worse. Sighing, he turned around to the empty room where he was going to change. "Okay, I'm done." 2 out of 3 heads turned at Ichigo's entrance. Ichigo noticed that Rukia didn't even move her head. DMN. On the other hand, the reaction from the other 2 wasn't that great as well. They were just staring, and gaping like goldfish. What was wrong? Did he put it on backwards? Or was there a huge rip somewhere that he had missed? He saw that the Shiba woman had nudged Rukia. She turned around, and then her face joined the goldfish-like gaping that the other 2 were making. The hell's wrong? Silence. Nothing. Rukia, I have your provisions ready, the older woman said hurriedly, pushing a small bag into Rukia's hands. Rukia still hadn't recovered from whatever it was that had caused the 3 of them to gape so openly. Ichigo looked down at his clothes. Nothing was wrong, as far as he could see. The only thing he could see that would be remotely considered out of place would be that the GI and the hakama were pure white. There was nothing else, really, that was strange about this outfit. He sighed. He wouldn't get anything out of the Shiba woman, or her brother, who was still gaping. Rukia would probably tell him, after she got over what he had told her, which probably wouldn't be any time soon. Kukaku's voice cut through his thoughts. "Okay, since that you're all ready, we'll send you on your way." "Okay. Bye now. Your old clothes will be safe with us. Have fun, and have a nice trip." She ushered them out of her house. "Bye." Ganju just stood there. He seriously looked like. All too soon, they were on the road again, and Ichigo still was wondering what the hell the others were so astonished about. Rukia was strangely quiet, and he had noticed she was sneaking glances at him as they walked. After walking in silence for a couple of minutes, Ichigo stopped. Rukia looked at him questioningly. Ichigo didn't notice, but instead started feeling the top bit of his clothes. There might be a hole somewhere that he didn't see. He vigorously rubbed his chest area. There wasn't. There was, however, a slightly embarrassed Rukia, as he was, after all, rubbing his chest area right in front of her. Ichigo looked at the blushing Rukia, then shrugged. He had thought of asking her what the hell was wrong with the outfit, but then thought she was still sore from his comment earlier. Which, she was. Anyway, there were more important things now. Then a thought hit him. Maybe there had been a hole behind him, where he couldn't see. His hands traveled down to his hakama, pants. He rubbed his behind rather vigorously to see if there was any hole, even a small hole. There was none. Ichigo failed to notice that Rukia was getting redder. But then, Ichigo thought, that if it was a small hole he wouldn't be able to feel it if he was just feeling the back of his pants fast. So, instead of vigorously rubbing the back of his pants, he slowly felt the back of his pants, still failing to notice Rukia, who was getting redder, and redder by the second, as you do when a guy suddenly starts slowly feeling his, lower back region, right in front of you. Damn it. Still no hole. But it had to be a hole, Ichigo told himself. Why else would they be gaping like fishes when he was wearing this DMNGI and hakama? And when he was wearing his normal Shinigami outfit they didn't say a word. Then, another horrible thought struck him. What if, oh crap. Anywhere, but not a hole there. He was so engrossed in finding the hole that he didn't notice Rukia, right in front of him, who was barely holding on to consciousness, her face looking like a bright red tomato. A tomato that had a mouth that was opening and closing, trying to tell Ichigo to stop, and what the hell was he doing to himself? She refused to let any bad thoughts make their way into her mind. Oblivious to the opening and closing mouth of Rukia, Ichigo slowly looked down. Oh, Lord, please not a hole there, anywhere but there. The thought didn't cross his mind, that if there was a hole there, Rukia would be sure to tell him about it. Since, it would be kind of awkward. As he finally rested his gaze upon you-know-where, he expected this huge gaping hole to be staring right back at him. However, he found none. What the hell was going on? Maybe one he couldn't see. He put his hands down to that region, and was about to feel around to see if there was any small holes hiding in the folds of the big pants, when he heard a noise. Rukia had fallen backwards. The thought of Ichigo doing that just knocked her out. Literally. Rukia. Someone's voice jolted her out of her unconsciousness. Oi, Rukia, wake up. The voice became a bit louder now, and she opened her eyes a crack. She couldn't believe what she saw. Kyan, Dano. She mumbled weakly. The hell, it's me, Ichigo. Who the hell are you mumbling on about? Oh yeah, Ichigo. Kyan didn't have orange hair. Ugh. Ichigo. Her last memories of him were, somewhat not pleasant. As she became aware of her surroundings she noticed that she was lying on a dirt path, and Ichigo was squatting beside her, a worried look plastered on his face. Oi, are you all right? He asked, as he helped her sit up. Yeah. I'm fine. She brushed away his helping hands because she was uncomfortable with the proximity. What happened back there? He asked, the worried look still showing on his face. What did happen back there? She had just seen Ichigo doing some, rather weird stuff. She blushed at the thought. Meanwhile, Ichigo just watched her turn red. He decided he would never understand this woman, and if he tried to it would probably kill a lot of brain cells. And he needed those. Rukia began, still blushing. I must have fainted due to, the lack of sleep. It was obviously a lie, and Rukia could see the hurt on Ichigo's face. He could live with it, she thought. There was no way she was telling him why she had fainted. She would probably faint again if she told him. Thankfully, he didn't pursue the matter. He just looked happy that she had come to. Can you stand up? Of course, she shot him a look of disdain. This teenage mortal was actually asking her if she could stand up. It wasn't as if she broke her leg or anything. Here, let me help you, he extended his hand to her as he sat up. Idiot. Despite her words, she took his hand, and pulled herself up. She took her hand away from his as soon as she was on her feet. And then nearly fell down again, if it wasn't for Ichigo's fast reflexes. Of course my butt. Rukia didn't say anything, but let Ichigo put his arm around her back, trying to ignore the rising heat on her face. God, what was happening to her, she thought. She was like, 10 times older than this guy, yet she was blushing when he put his arm around her. And it was only to support her as well. Even with these thoughts, she didn't bring herself to look him in the eye as he drew her close to him. Their bodies were so close to each other. He could feel the warmth of her skin radiating onto his. Ichigo grimaced. He was chanting in his head, it's only 'cause she can't stand, it's only 'cause she can't stand, it's only 'cause she can't stand. That chant would keep him sane till when anyway? Did she expect them to walk throughout the whole night? As if reading his thoughts, Rukia spoke. There's an inn around here somewhere. We can stay there the night. Her voice sounded like a crackle, she thought. Why yeah. Ichigo's wasn't much better. As they walked together in silence, Rukia felt strength return to her legs. She could probably walk by herself now, she thought. But for some reason she didn't move from her position. Could it be that she liked it? No, hell no. That wasn't the reason. Then how come she didn't move? She almost felt her body snuggle closer to his body. She was jolted out of her thoughts as she heard Ichigo's voice. Is that the inn? He was pointing with his free hand to a rather large building on the side of the road. It sort of looked out of place, due to the fact that it was the only large building around the place. Yeah, that's the one. She was thankful for the dark. It hid the red that had decided to rest on her face. They entered the doorway, blinking their eyes against the bright light. It took a while for them to get adjusted to the light. When they could see properly, they noticed that the attendant behind the desk was laughing lightly at them. "Oh my, such late visitors," she exclaimed. "You're lucky, we were about to close." Rukia breathed a sigh of relief. "I'm glad we made it in time." Before she could say another word, the attendant cheerily interrupted her. "So, the married couple's room?" Ichigo and Rukia both spoke up at once. And broke up at once. We aren't, like that, ma'am," Ichigo managed to get out, turning red. "Oh. But just now, you were." "Oh, I hurt myself on the way here, and so he had to." She trailed off, not able to say any more, because she was blushing furiously. Ichigo and Rukia looked away from each other, and the floor had suddenly become a lot more interesting to both of them. The attendant smiled knowingly, but if you looked closer, you could have sworn that there was a glint in her eye. "Well, that's a good enough explanation, no need to embarrass yourselves," the attendant laughed. Ichigo and Rukia both heaved a sigh of relief. However, the attendant interrupted their sigh of relief. "The only room available is the married couple's room." Crap. Rukia had never been in such a tight position, while the attendant just smiled cheerily. "Wait, no wait." Rukia looked up to see Ichigo leaning over the desk, arguing with the attendant. "There just has to be another room." "I'm sorry sir, but there isn't." She looked up at her client, who looked rather exasperated. "Wait, what the hell does that say?" The attendant's smile teetered dangerously, then went back to full smiling mode as she covered the sheet of paper with her hands. "Actually." The attendant was saved by the girl client, who looked rather tired. "Come on Ichigo, let's just take it." "But." The attendant smiled to herself. It was obvious the girl's opinion really did matter to the young man. "Well, do you want to sleep outside?" The young man named Ichigo merely grumbled something to himself, but they consented. "Fine, fine." "Excuse me," the young woman smiled a smile that would have matched the attendant's, "we'll take the room. Please be kind enough to tell us the price and the number." "Certainly ma'am." The attendant looked at her papers. "Room, the price is 5 silver pieces." She smiled her winning smile. Rukia just smiled back. Ichigo took a step backwards, rather scared over this exchange of smiles. "Here you go," Rukia said as she handed the money over. She grabbed Ichigo by the arm, and started walking down the hallway to where their room was. "Wow. Hold on. I am so not sleeping in the same room." "Why not?" "I've slept in your room anyway," Rukia said, now oblivious of the attendant. The attendant's eyebrows lifted in acknowledgement. Ichigo shot the attendant an exasperated look, but her face didn't change. Hey, wait. What about?" He was cut off by Rukia. "Look, I'm tired and I want to sleep." "Could you not argue?" Her tone was sharp, and Ichigo knew when to keep quiet. However, he was annoyed at the attendant who just flashed him a knowing smile and winked. How dare she? He glared right back. He mumbled something to himself, and then allowed himself to be led by the hand to their room. The attendant just smirked to herself as she looked down at the papers she had been covering with her hand. On the papers was a list of all the rooms in building. When a room was occupied she was supposed to tick off that room in the provided box. The smirk soon turned into an evil grin, as she ticked off the box that was labeled Room 5, the love room. So far only that one box was checked. That couple were the only ones inhabiting this place, but they didn't even know it. The evil grin soon turned into a soft maniacal laugh. Okay, so she liked putting people together. That didn't make her weird. Not much anyway. Wow. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. The room was rather spacious, and it had a sliding door that was connected to, no doubt, a toilet. He glanced quickly around the room. Something wasn't right. The whole room was scented with a faint smell. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was. And the walls were pink. What kind of room was this? And the futon that he watched Rukia stroll leisurely across the wide room, to an even longer sliding door that was nearly the whole length of the back wall. She opened half the sliding door to reveal a steaming hot rock bath. That sounds really good at the moment, he thought to himself. Then he thought about Rukia. This was not good. After a few moments of staring at the bath, Rukia decided that she would get in. She turned around, to see Ichigo staring at the bath as well. On second thoughts, she would probably take a lot longer in the bath than Ichigo would. It would probably be better for him to take a bath first, since she didn't want him falling asleep without taking a bath. Actually, more to the point, she didn't want to sleep in the same room as him, without him having a bath. Oi. Huh? Ichigo looked over to Rukia. What? You go in first. What? Just hurry up and go in. Why should I go in first? Because I'll take a hell of a lot longer than you. Ichigo sighed. He would never, ever understand women. But she was right, in this situation. He was thankful that he wouldn't have to wait 10 hours before Rukia decided to emerge from the bath. A Summer Job, Business Trip, Part 3. Ah. It had been a long time since he'd been so relaxed. Sitting here in this hot bath made him forget all the stresses he had had to go through. He opened his eyes a crack. Where was he again? Oh yeah, some inn in Seoul Society. And it was a stupid inn, he decided to himself. Making them have the same living quarters. Even though, they couldn't really do anything about it. He closed his eyes again, letting the hot water soak his body properly. It wasn't that it had been such a grueling journey, it was just that, it had been such a long time since he had relaxed like this. Back at home every relaxing moment could be broken by the presence of a hollow. In the court of pure souls there weren't hollows, but it couldn't be exactly called peaceful. His thoughts were interrupted as a familiar voice spoke from behind the sliding doors. Oi. Ichigo, hurry up. Rukia. Ichigo grimaced to himself, as though it took effort to even think about leaving the bath. Okay, I'm going, just give me a second, he mumbled softly. He didn't know whether